So a few stories to first start how I experienced interpreters and that world, and then an event that impacted how I realized the interactions and of interpreting and how I'm here today. So the first interaction was when I was 15 in an institution. Before then, I grew up hearing and speaking in school. I was mostly hard of hearing. And then when I went into the institution, there's all this quick signing and I couldn't understand. There was an interpreter there who was using oral interpreting. And I see you laughing. So oral interpreting, and they would say, "Welcome to school," and so forth. I thought it was cool and interesting. It was first interpreting I had experienced. I didn't have any ASL skills before then. So all of you L2 learners out there, don't worry, there's hope. So I continued in the institution, full immersion with signing, and there was no interpreters there in the institute, no extra provisions for those. So I constantly was exposed and copying and learning from my peers and teachers. So the oral interpreter was working and there were different people coming on, and one person named Eric Malzonhan came on. And if you haven't seen him, I would suggest going onto YouTube and looking up a video. So when he was signing, I was sitting and watching and thinking, wow, I want to be like that when I grow up. He didn't need an interpreter. His ability to take the story and express it and show it visually was just captivating and amazing. So continuing on through the institution, I didn't need an interpreter. The Gallaudet, same, didn't need an interpreter. But then when I went to graduate school, I went to graduate school for computer sciences. One of my interpreters, Tara, my friend's wife, funny how small the world is, was sitting, and we started the lecture, and the interpreter was working and struggling with the computer science program terminology. And that made me realize I needed to have a team with myself and my interpreters. And yesterday we had a lecture on teamwork between interpreters and consumers. And that's been my experience. And same in the corporate world with technology. You have to have a team with the interpreters. So my experiences throughout school has been that. And then I eventually married my wife. She's the best interpreter out there. You all can compete for second. That's fine by me. She's the first though. So the recent event that impacted me was when I turned 50 recently. I know I don't look 50, but that's fine. So when you turn 50, two things happen. First, AARP finds you. Oh, you're laughing at, you all know what I mean. They are really good. They do their research. It's kind of awful to let you know. Before I turned 50, I moved like 4 to 5 times in a really short amount of time. They still found me pretty quick too. So that's the first thing. Second thing is you have this personal interaction with your doctor, and your doctor says, well, it's time for your personal GoPro adventure. Yeah. You know, that like tiny little hole. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. So I'm like, okay, fine. Continue to postpone the appointment, and my doctor continually encouraged me, you need to set up the appointment. So I finally set up an appointment, and the receptionist was like, oh, you're deaf. Do you need an interpreter? That got me thinking. So this is my first experience with an interpreter, or first experience with colonoscopy. People often tell you, it's kind of a awkward situation. Like it's very invasive and in-depth. So something to keep aware of. Did I want an interpreter to come in with me? I looked at a list of options of who I could have. Like I could have my wife. I didn't want that. She's a great interpreter, but I didn't want her in the room with me. And after looking at the list, I realized I didn't want anyone. I didn't want anyone else in the room with me other than the professional, the medical professional.